This happened 4 days ago, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. I'm never coming back to the village again. I was staying with my grandma in a small Japanese village while taking a break from the city. It's a quiet place surrounded by mountains and dense forests, and though I've visited before, it always feels a bit eerie at night. My grandma is a firm believer in old traditions and superstitions such as yakai. One of her biggest warnings was to never whistle after dark. She used to say it invites Yanaki-sama, the night caller. I always thought it was just one of those creepy stories meant to keep kids from staying out late, but now I know it's not. That night I had gone into town for an important Japanese festival. I stayed later than I'd planned, and by the time I started walking back to my grandma's house, it was pitch black. The village doesn't have streetlights, and my phone's flashlight was barely enough to light the road. To calm myself, I started whistling, just a cheerful tune to break the silence. Almost immediately I heard it, a whistle coming from the trees. It mimicked my tune exactly. I froze. I knew there shouldn't have been anyone else out there. The road was empty, and the forest was too dense for someone to move quietly. Trying to brush it off, I whistled again, this time out of nervousness. The reply came faster, closer, and somehow sharper, like the sound was cutting through the air. I felt my chest tighten as I realized this wasn't an echo. I picked up my pace, but the whistling followed me. It stayed the same distance behind me, no matter how fast I walked. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. That's when I heard it above me. I looked up and my stomach dropped. Against the faint light of the stars, I saw something. It was tall, impossibly thin, and its limbs stretched out like a broken puppet suspended in the air. Its head was playfully tilted to one side, almost curiously, and it swayed gently, like it was waiting for me to do something. I don't know how I managed to move, but I ran as fast as I could, my heart pounding. When I finally reached my grandma's house, I slammed the door shut and locked every window and door. For a moment, I thought I was safe. Then I heard it. The whistling started again, this time right outside the house. "Keiko-chan," a soft voice called, mimicking my grandma's tone. "Come outside, let me in." I didn't respond, I didn't even breathe. The voice grew more insistent, the whistling shriller. And then I heard a creak from the corner of the room. I turned slowly, and there it was. That thing had followed me inside. It unfolded itself from the shadows, its long limbs stretching and its head tilting toward me. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't move. Then, out of sheer desperation, I remembered something my grandma had said earlier. Light always chases away the dark. My hands shook as I grabbed a small lantern on the table and lit it. The flame flickered, casting a warm glow around the room. As soon as the light touched the creature, it let out this horrible, piercing whistle, like a train screeching to a halt. It writhed and shrank back, dissolving into the shadows until it was gone. The next morning, I told my grandma everything. She nodded solemnly and handed me a small wooden talisman she had carved. She told me it was meant to keep Yanaki-sama away, but warned me to never whistle at night again. I've kept the talisman on me ever since. I haven't heard the whistling again, but at night, when the wind blows just right, I swear I can feel something watching me from the shadows. If you're ever in a small village in Japan, heed the warnings. And whatever you do, don't whistle after dark. You never know who's listening.